Okay, so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start by putting the link to the guide that we'll be using for the workshop today. I'm going to put that in the chat. Um, so if you would like to follow along on your computer, you are more than welcome to do so. Um, so I'll start first by introducing myself. For those of you who who don't know who I am, my name is Jordan Nielsen. My pronouns are they, them. I am one of the librarians for business in the Walker Management Library here at OWIN. And today's workshop, we're going to focus on career research, more specifically, how to prepare for interviews. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a few different resources that will help you gather information about companies, about industries, and then other information that is more general and will help you prepare for interviews. So we're going to start by looking at this research guide that I have pulled up here that hopefully you all see on your screens. This is our career research guide that we have put together to help you sort of guide you in the right direction for different career focused resources that we subscribe to here in the library. So we are going to take a look at 3 different resources in today's workshop. The first of which is, so really I want to talk about this quick interview prep tab, which is sort of the first tab that you'll land on when you click on the link to this guide. So depending on sort of how you're trying to come at interview prep, career prep information, maybe you need to get information about the industry in which the company that you're going to interview for would be situated. And we've got a guide here for how to gather information very quickly about industries. We also have databases that will help you gather information about companies and doing more general career research. So this first tab here will point you to a few different resources that you can use depending on the nature of the information that you're looking for. We're going to take a look at these first 2 here. So we're actually going to start with Hoover's. Hoover's is a company database. And so I'm going to open that database up. Now, as you prepare for interviews, you will want to learn potentially about the company that you're interested in interviewing with, or maybe you have an interview with. And so not only will you want to know a little bit about, of course, you're going to know probably a little bit about what they do, but maybe you want to know about specific challenges they face. Maybe you want to know more about, you want to sort of get some multiple perspectives on what's happening with this company. So you can easily do that in this database, the Hoover's database. So it's really easy actually to search for companies in this database. So depending on the company that you're looking for, this database really specializes in public companies, though there is some private company information in here. You can also get some industry information, news, that sort of thing. But since we want to focus first on getting information about particular companies, I'm going to demonstrate how you can do that in this database. So all you have to do at this point is type in the name of your company that you're interested in. And quite frankly, it's Monday. I'm dragging a little bit, so I've got coffee on the brain. So I'm actually going to search for Starbucks because I can never have enough caffeine. And so when I type in Starbucks, you're going to see several different options here. You want to make sure that when you look at this list that you're selecting, if you're interested in the parent company, you want to make sure that's the one you choose because in some cases you can get to specific locations as opposed to the parent company. Or you may be clicking on something that may not even be the company that you're looking for. So you just want to verify that. In this case, Starbucks Corporation, this is the parent company here. So I'm going to choose that. And if you haven't seen these Hoover's reports before, they're very, very helpful, particularly if you're trying to get information about a company very quickly, because they organize the information in a way that's very accessible, very easy to sort of digest. And it's kind of a really great database for getting a snapshot of a company. So right here we see sort of some general overview information about Starbucks Corporation, where it's located, how many employees it has, so on and so forth. Now, as you scroll down this sort of landing page, you're going to see a description of the company. If you didn't know what Starbucks did, what they do, you can see that there. You can also see information about their industry, some corporate highlight information, key contacts. So, if you're interested in learning more about some of these key contacts, you can easily just click on the name. So we're interested in Tyson Avery. We can click on this person's name and we can get a little more information, a little more insight, some contact information in some cases for individuals within companies. But over here on the left-hand side, this is really where you're going to get into sort of the in-depth pieces of this database as it relates to this company. So I'm actually going to back up a bit. So over here on the left under core, you see there are lots of different ways you could sort of explore information about a particular company. If you want to know more about the company's history, the products and operations, you have those sort of options there. You can also see, more information about corporate family, so any sort of subsidiaries, you've got that there, corporate overview. You also have, and this is one thing that I think is particularly helpful when you're preparing for interviews with companies. If you want to look at a SWOT analysis, you can just click on that and then it will show you the SWOT analysis right there. And this one's actually fairly recent from June of this year. So if you're trying to get insight into challenges the company faces or opportunities that they have ahead of them, you can click on the SWOT analysis and then you can actually go through and you can see, the details for, like I said, some of the challenges the company's facing, some of the areas maybe they could, explore in terms of opportunities, that sort of thing. So that's one really great piece of information that you can get out of this database. You can also get analyst reports. So that's another really great option for you. If you're trying to get information about a company that's maybe not from the company's perspective, because you want to learn a little bit about the company sort of externally. The analyst reports are a really great place to get information about that. So you see this under the advanced, you see analyst reports here. If you click on that, this is going to pull up the analyst reports. And it looks like there's a few recent analyst reports here. So all you need to do at this point is click on the title of the analyst report, and then you'd actually open it up. So this one here is an analyst report, JP Morgan, looks like Starbucks is beating expectations. So all you'd have to do is click on that title, and then you're going to open that analyst report. And it looks like it's about 25 pages. So this is, again, a great way to sort of quickly look at what's going on, what's affecting this company. You'll be able to quickly sort of pull out information that might help you set you up for success with your interviews. So this is just a very quick look at sort of how to navigate Hoover's. As you can see, there are lots of other reports over here, like the crush reports. Not every company in this database has a crush report, but some of the more larger corporations do. So if you wanted to see, information about IT and all these different sorts of things that relate to this particular company, you could get that in here as well. So there are lots of different, lots of different ways to slice and dice this information. If you want to see competitors, you want to see annual reports, it's all organized, very easy to get to, and it makes gathering information about a particular company very, very streamlined. So that was just a very quick view at Hoover's. Again, if you're trying to get do company research in under 30 minutes, Hoover's is a really, really great database for that. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions. If you have questions, feel free to just throw them out there. If you want to put them in the chat, I'll pause for just a minute to see if anybody has any questions about Hoover's before we move on. Okay, doesn't look like anybody has any questions about Hoover's. So I will move on to the next one in the interest of time. So the next database, again, it's on that career research guide. It's the first one there. It's called First Research. You'll also see it referred to as Intellect. So when you click on this, it will actually say Intellect up here at the top. But one of the sort of tools within this is called First Research. Now, First Research is going to help you get industry information. So of course, as you're preparing for interviews with particular companies, it's helpful to gather as much information about that company as you can, but it's also helpful to understand the industry in which they operate. And potential multiple industries in which they operate. So if you want to get sort of the broader picture, this is a great database to use to get that information. So once you're inside, once you've clicked on the link and you're inside, you'll want to scroll down until you see First Research over here. And when you click on First Research, it's going to open up, ask you to hit submit. So, you're just clicking to enter into the database. Now, at this point, there are lots of different ways that you can sort of navigate. So, for instance, if you're not sure how to get to the industry profile that you're looking for, if you're not sure how it's, what it's going to be called, you can just click on Browse Industry Profiles, and then this is going to help you out, these little tabs here. So if you think, well, I know I'm interested in, coffee, for instance. So I suspect that will be under food and agriculture. And then if you click on that, it's going to show you all of the different industry profiles within the food and agriculture sort of category. And you'll see, coffee and tea manufacturing is under here. That may be an option, since we were using Starbucks as my example earlier, I'm just going to stick with it. But maybe I'm curious to see just generally what kinds of industry profiles are in here that touch on coffee. Maybe it's not coffee and tea manufacturing, maybe it's something else. So I'm just going to type in the word coffee and do a keyword search. And then once I've run that search, it's going to show me I have 18 different reports that have come back. And that mention coffee in some way. These different profiles touch on coffee in some way. So you see, we already saw where coffee and tea manufacturing showed up, but this first report here, profile rather, is coffee shops. That's probably going to be more relevant since I'm thinking about Starbucks, and that's the sort of company that I'm interested in. That's likely the industry that I want to focus on. So I'm going to click on coffee shops, and then it's going to actually open up this full profile here. And this profile contains a lot of different pieces that are going to be helpful for you in terms of understanding what's happening in this industry and how that's affecting the companies that operate within that industry. So you're going to get a general overview. You're going to see some news and social media type information. And again, over on the left side, that's really how you're going to navigate to specific pieces of information about this industry. So maybe you're interested in an industry forecast, what's happening, what's projected to happen in this industry. You've got that right there. Perhaps you want to know, like we talked about earlier, challenges faced by businesses in this industry. So if you can sort of explore that information as well. There are two pieces of information in this database that I think are particularly relevant to those of you who are preparing for interviews. The first being the Executive Insight tab. So if you were to click on that, you're going to see this is going to provide insight to you from the perspective of these various executives. So sort of the challenges they're thinking about, the things that they are faced with in these particular roles. So, you can see it from the CEO, the CFO, so on and so forth. So for instance, if you are, the VP of sales, you're thinking about, developing new products and creating customer loyalty programs. And these are the sorts of challenges and questions you're sort of grappling with. Now, as you scroll further down, you're going to see conversation starters. So these are questions that you could potentially ask in order to spur conversation, in interviews, for instance. So if you're, chatting with someone in marketing and sales, thinking about what types of customer loyalty programs does the company offer, knowing that that's something they're sort of focusing on and thinking about. So I think both the insight and the conversation starters are really great pieces of information for you to check out for the particular industries that you're interested in. I also think the call prep questions in this database are going to give you a lot of insight and a lot of strategies as you head into interviews for things to ask and think about. So exploring the call prep questions for just a minute. Again, you're going to see some conversation starters, but these aren't necessarily focused on sort of that executive level. These are sort of more general in nature, and you see they break them down in, by sort of categories. So if you're interviewing for roles, in customers and marketing, pricing, competition, so on and so forth, here are some questions that you can ask. And of course, you all know, you want to head into an interview and have questions ready to ask, but maybe you're not sure which questions you should actually ask. And so this gives you some ideas of things that you could ask that could really potentially set you apart from others. I think this would really demonstrate that you've got some insight into what's happening, what's affecting not only the company, but the industry that it's a part of. So these call prep questions will really give you some idea as to the kinds of things that you should be asking. And again, it will signal that you've thought about this and that you understand that these are things sort of facing the companies and the industries. So again, very quick look at first research. But this is more the industry level. We looked at the company level first in Hoover's, and this is broader, focusing on the industry level. So I'm going to pause there before we move on to the last tool that I want to focus on, and ask if you have any questions about first research. I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to head on to the last tool that I want to talk about, which is called Vault. And some of you may have some experience with Vault, but it's essential. So on this research guide, you're going to access Vault under Advanced Career Research. So if you click on Advanced Career Research, it's going to be the first database that's listed on this page. So if you click on Vault, you open it up. Now, essentially, the thing to think about when you're inside Vault is this is a database where you can get a lot of different information that's all related to sort of career and interviewing and that sort of thing. So you're going to get information like company reviews. You're going to get, industry and employer profiles. You're going to find information about career trends. You can get interview prep materials, different resources like that, but it's all geared toward sort of career prep information. Lots of different ways to sort of search and parse out information in this database, but it's fairly easy to navigate. But like I said, there are lots of different ways that you can sort of go about doing it. I'm going to recommend that you start by, if there's particular companies that you're interested in, I'm going to recommend sort of starting there. Now, they give you some options. You could hit browse more companies and see, you can sort of see what the top searches are, and then you can go into those. You can also see they have ranking lists. So if you want to see like what the top 50 consulting firms as ranked by Vault, you could see that. They have featured companies, so you could sort of dive into these different featured companies. They also have blogs related to career information. So if you're trying to get access to articles or other different things related to specific career information, they have that there. So going back up to the top, so we can either type in a company name here, if there's a particular company we're interested in, or we can choose an industry. So I'm just going to choose the industry. I'm going to choose consulting, just as an example. And when you do that, you're going to see all of the different sort of consulting companies that you can sort of explore. I'm just going to grab one random. I'm going to choose Bain and Company. And when I click on that, this is what an employer profile will look like once you're inside of Vault. So you're going to see there's these sections here, an overview of the company. They conduct surveys with employees of these companies to get information about what it's like to work there and that sort of thing. And then you can actually see actual reviews from employees. So on the overview page, as you scroll down, you're going to see, of course, there are different rankings based on different surveys and sorts of things. But you're also going to see at a glance. So if you want to know what it's like sort of to work in this particular company, uppers, downers. You can see things like where they're featured in the news recently. You'll also have access to things like these videos here where you get to see why people choose to work here. The surveys tab here, the survey says this is a really interesting and helpful tab, particularly for career seekers, because as you scroll through, you'll see this is based on surveys that they've conducted, but you're going to get a sense of the firm's culture, the quality of life in terms of work-life balance. You'll also see things like career development, information about compensation, diversity, outlook, the hiring process, if you want to know what the hiring process is like at a particular firm, and then interview questions. So these are actual questions that candidates for positions at these different firms are asked. So you can get some insight here in terms of preparing for an interview of potential questions that you might be asked. Now, you may also want to think about why you should work at a particular place. Well, they have information about that as well. So as I mentioned earlier, there's some video content in here, but you can also sort of jump around and see, what it is you'll be doing, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in sort of getting insider perspective on why you would want to work there, this is a great tab for that. And then reviews. We all know what reviews are. So you can see they actually have more than 1,000 reviews in here. And so you can actually go through and read, and these are all verified. So you can read, actual reviews from employees who currently work for this particular firm. And of course, you can see, like, if you want to see reviews that relate to salaries, you can do that, or the interview process. So you can sort of chunk out the types of reviews that you're looking at. I see the question, is this similar to Glassdoor? Yes. Now, it's been a while since I've looked at Glassdoor, so I'm not sure what their process is for verifying sort of reviews of companies, but I do know in this with this, Vault does actually verify that these reviews are coming from either former or current, that sort of thing, employees of this actual company. So these are all verified reviews, so you don't have to worry about somebody who's got no experience with this company writing a review for them. Now, there are other pieces of Vault that I think would potentially be helpful for all of you. So you can go under career advice, and you'll see here they have lots of different pieces that you could explore. So for instance, day in the life, I think is always very interesting. If you click on day in the life and you're like, I want to know what it's like to be, an investment banking analyst. So you can click on that, and then they will actually do a breakdown of, Monday, Tuesday, what you'll do from the time you start through the end of your day. So if you want to know what the day looks like for someone in one of these roles, this is a really great tool for that. You also have, of course, interview tips and questions. So if you click on that, this is going to break out the types of questions. So, if you're going to be facing a behavioral interview and you want to prepare for that, if you click on behavioral interview questions, then you can actually see legitimate behavioral interview type questions. And if you click on that, you can see more specific sort of breakdown analysis of that type of question, what they're looking for, so tips for how to respond, that sort of thing. You've also got, cover letter advice, and you can research industries and all that sort of thing. So there's again lots of different ways to sort of get career advice in here depending on what you're looking for. But I did want to sort of make you aware that it is here, it's available to you all. And then the last thing is the Vault guides. So I'm going to click on that. Now, these essentially are guides, depending on what the guide is for. These are guides related to pursuing careers in a particular industry. So if you're interested in, say, consulting firms, for instance, I'll show you what that guide would look like. So it's basically, this is going to be a guide that's going to include a lot of different survey information, surveys of professionals in this particular field. So I'm going to hit view now, and it sometimes takes a little minute to load, just to show you a little bit about what's in here. Let me skip on over so you can see some of this information. So if you're, for instance, this is the list of best consulting firms to work for. And again, it's based on surveys of professionals in this field. And so you can actually go through and they talk about their survey methodology. So if you're curious about how they, how they got that information, they in each sort of section, they break that down. But you could see, prestige rankings and on it, and they go into salaries and all that sort of stuff. But I highly recommend you check out these guides because they do contain some really insightful information about particular career paths. So let's see. So in terms of getting into the guides in Vault, it's really, really easy. There's just a Vault Guides tab up here at the top. And then depending, and again, they have guides, different types of guides. So if you're looking for industry guides, you can choose obviously a guide by industry, but also they have guides by sort of advice. So if you want interviewing guides or education guides, you have those here. So for instance, interviewing guides, you want a guide to behavioral interviewing. You can click on that. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So again, let's skip over to the table of contents. So if you want to, so like chapter 7, know what interviewers are assessing. So if you want to know why they're asking you a particular behavioral type question, that's a helpful chapter in terms of sort of sussing out what it is they're actually asking you. Small talk, how to, network, those sorts of things. There are all sorts of guides in here, but again, this one is particularly focused on behavioral interviews. So if you have a behavioral interview and you are likely to encounter behavioral interview questions, this would be a guide that I would recommend checking out. So having said that, I don't want to overwhelm everyone, but I will stop there, and I am going to ask you all if you all have any questions. We went through 3 tools very quickly, but I also want to be mindful of the time, and I don't want to take up all of your lunch break today. But so do you all have any questions? Are there resources that maybe you're interested in, you're not sure how to use, or are you maxed out for today? And again, feel free to either throw it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask.
Hey Jordan, can you show how you got to the second resource?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the second one was first research. Yeah. So we're going to I'm going to go back. That's on the career research guide under quick, and I'll throw that guide in the chat again, just to provide easy access to it. So on the quick research guide, it's the very first thing that's listed there, first research. And so all you have to do at that point is just click on it, and then you're going to want to scroll down, and you'll see it's one of the sort of the links beneath the sort of main search box. You see first research there. And then once you hit submit, then you'll actually be inside the database.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Let's see. No other questions? Well, of course, if you do have questions, if you can't remember how to get back to this guide, or you can't remember which resources we talked about or how to navigate them, feel free to either drop by the library. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, generally speaking, but you can always email us at managementlibrary@vanderbilt.edu, and I'm going to throw that in the chat as well. And we regularly monitor that email. So if you do have questions, feel free to send them our way, and one of us will get back to you very, very quickly, usually within a matter of hours, if not sooner, but definitely within the 24-hour timeframe is what we usually say. So any questions that you have, just let us know. And thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jordan.